Hello everyone and welcome to the File and Resource Attacks course conclusion. So here we are, as promised. The course conclusion video is my way of saying thank you for going through the entire course. And as you know, the primary objective is to go over what we set out as targets in terms of learning objectives and learning outcomes in the course introduction. So if you remember, in the course introduction, I sort of laid out what you should know and what you should be able to do by the end of this course. So this video sort of gives you a way to review. It's sort of a report card. It gives you a way to review, what was laid out in terms of what we wanted to cover and whether or not you're able to, whether or not you know all of those elements, all of those points, and whether or not you're able to do what I told you you were going to be able to do by the end of this course. And from my perspective, I also use this video as a way to, again, look back and see whether I hit all of the marks, and also, do that on a more abstracted level, because for me, the primary objective of this course was to impart my knowledge on file and resource attacks to you, to give you a course that I wish I had when I got started in, penetration testing in general, but more specifically web application penetration testing. And I've structured it in a way that I hope, and I think, honestly speaking, will make things easier for you in terms of understanding how these vulnerabilities intersect, which is very important, as you've been able to tell, because one of the things I've realized is if you do not learn about these vulnerabilities in the right order, unfortunate as it is, because on the web, most vulnerabilities are linked. If you don't learn them in the correct order, they can become very confusing. And if you go into the wild or into the world with that confused understanding or convoluted understanding, it becomes very difficult to understand, what type of vulnerability you've just found, so on and so forth. So hopefully my experience and of course my knowledge of the field has been imparted to you through some tips and tricks and all of that. But yeah, from my perspective, I think I have achieved exactly what I set out to achieve in terms of giving you the knowledge that, as I said, I wish I had, and also giving you knowledge that you can get, or that I've been able to get through practical experience in performing, hundreds of professional penetration tests, for both standard environments and also web applications. And also bug bounty hunting. So if we take a look at the learning objectives, they haven't changed from the course introduction. You can actually go and verify that. But you can see that by the end of the course, you should have an understanding of what file upload, directory traversal, LFI and RFI vulnerabilities are, and how to identify them. Indeed, we covered that extensively. We actually covered more than that in terms of the causes as well. Well, not really the causes, the impact and the methodology behind identifying these vulnerabilities. And we got introduced to each one of them. So hopefully you guys agree as well. Secondly, you should have the ability to bypass upload filters and blacklists for remote code execution. Indeed, that was the first section of the course where we touched on arbitrary file uploads, and we explored multiple ways of achieving remote code execution. And I also shared some tips in terms of some really cool tools that you can utilize, like Weavly, to simplify the process of, setting up a backdoor that is password protected. And then, of course, you should be able to exploit directory traversal vulnerabilities for various types of impact, because we did actually explore more than one type of impact, whether it be accessing system files, maybe trying to find a file that configuration file that has credentials that could further provide you with access to the web application or the underlying web server itself, or even the database. So again, I think we did a very good job on that front, and I'm sure that section was very exciting for you. And then, of course, we took a look at how to identify, or rather, I should say, in your context, you should have the ability to identify and exploit both local file inclusion and remote file inclusion vulnerabilities. And all of this was contextualized both theoretically and practically through the use of live labs, both again using two types of systems, where we had a basics video that highlighted the general syntax and the rules and the methodology behind identifying and exploiting each vulnerability. And then we took a look at a real-world web application to essentially ground us in the real world once again and show us what these vulnerabilities look like in the wild and how they differ from, one web application to the other. The point is that the methodology remains the same, and as long as you understand the differences between some of these vulnerabilities, and I'm sure you already know which ones I'm talking about, you're pretty much good to go. Individually speaking, they are very simple to understand, and hopefully I was able to, again, impart that to you as well. As long as you keep things simple and you understand the intersection points between all of these vulnerabilities, you should be good to go. And my benchmark is that after taking this course, I feel, or I am certain, that you would be able to identify any of these vulnerabilities and exploit them, and you would be able to distinguish between one vulnerability over the other instead of mischaracterizing one as, let's say, LFI while it was directory traversal. So with that being said, that brings us to the end, and it is now time for me to bid you farewell, not for eternity, but just for now, as you go and put into practice what you have learned. So I would like to thank you for reaching this particular point in the course. And as always, I'm always available on the official INE forum, which is you can actually find on community.ine.com. You can always send me a message there if you have any questions regarding this course or any other course. But with that being said, thank you, and I'll be seeing you in the next course.